Welcome back guys to yet another deck profile. I know it's been a while, but we have been very busy. Amongst other, I have actually moved and therefore editing was impossible. But now you can see we're back at it again. And now we're refreshed and ready to tackle it once more. What other deck than to revitalize our DCS season than Lianorn. Now, before we get into Lianorn herself, we're quickly going over the ride line. Our grade 0 can be whatever one you like. I personally like to use the original starter from the trial deck, of course in its foil version. Grade 1 of choice is Rancor Chain. He has the ability where you Soul Blast 1, draw 2 cards, and then you either discard an order or discard 2 cards. Now in this deck you want to get hand as early as possible to see your pieces, to get your combo going. Other cards that allow us to draw, and our starter, because we want to go second, we would be drawing 4 cards as our first move of the game, which is kind of insane. Our grade 2 is the Black Tear Husk, which on place lets us get the normal order that we discarded back to our hand. And of course, our grade 3 of choice is the original main set Lianorn. Her first ability is the Counterblast 1, draw 1, and then call something or discard something. Now, usually we'll want to draw something and call something, unless if our opponent has not given us a lot of CB, then we will be skipping the skill. Then of course she has her back row boost ability, but again we prefer not to use it because we would like to go into the masks as soon as possible. Aggression is the name of the game. So like I said, our grade 3 of choice is the Lianorn Masques. This is my favorite version of Lianorn, which is why I didn't personally play the Vivace list. And as soon as I noticed that this deck was once again usable, I didn't skip a heartbeat and assembled the deck. Now her skill is that she can only be ridden over a Lianorn, which means you have to use the mask to pull out the most potential of this deck. Her other skill is removing a Lianorn from anywhere from the game, which has a different name from this one. Then you can remove something from your opponent's board, and you can call something from drop, which is perfect for a certain grade 1 that comes in quite handy during your overwhelming power play. Then again, her main skill is when she attacks, you choose 3 of your back row rear guards that have boost, and you boost with them. If you boost it with 3 or more units, you can counterblast 1 at the end of the battle and stand 2 units. That can be any unit except for the Vanguard itself, which means a certain grade 1 that's in the front row will be restanding once more. Now of course the masks allows you, if you went second, to persona right immediately. Paired with the boosting and the power gain this deck can manifest, you will be hitting quite hard. Hopefully that will be enough to defeat your opponent on your first grade 3 turn, which is the main goal of this deck. Now for our grade 2s, of course we are running one of the Mask Searcher, which also makes a Dragon Tree marker. We tend to only use this in difficult situations where we don't see our masks. Then again, otherwise it's just discard fodder for certain effects or a shield to guard with. Then of course we have our Ace unit, which does not have shield, so keep that in mind. For Energy Blast 3 on place, you can look at the top 7 cards, mill one of them, and then call a card from your drop zone. It also gains plus 5k on the turn it was placed, and it has the potential to gain another 10k. Usually this is just to set up additionally, or if you have the chance to look for more cards to set up your combo. This is just a very good complementary piece to the deck. And last but not least, we have Loggrace. His main ability is to search for your additional Lianorns. So it does cost a counterblast, but if you really need to find your masks, it is just an additional consistency piece. And of course, it's a 15k body on the field because you'll always have grade 1s or lower on your board, especially in the back row. But he's also a 10k shield. So if somebody wants to wise up to your antics, you'll have at least a bit more defense to count on thanks to Loggrace. Now for the bulk of the deck, we look of course at the middle row that we see right now, which is Stoicheia, which is your pseudo energy cycler for Magnolia and Lianorn. Now, when it's discarded for a right deck, you can just reveal your Lianorn or Magnolia, and then you can either pay a Soul Blast or an Energy Blast, and then you can draw a card. Then of course, its other skill is when it's in drop, you can send it to the bottom of the deck and turn one of your units into a 15k if it has the original power of 5000, and if it's a Persona Ride turn, it turns it into a base 20k unit, which is very important because your next card is of course the Rosarium Fairy, which copies the power of a unit on the board. It's a unit will be making very big, which means we can easily hit for 63k columns, and we'll be resetting these Rosarium Fairies to get our 5 attacks in and make our opponent wish they went second themselves. Our last prominent grade 1 will be Couture, which is when he's placed from hand, you can discard a card from hand, which can be whichever piece you don't need at the time, to essentially just pick an order from your deck, send it to the drop zone, and then you can play it from the drop zone for this turn. And when you play it, it goes to the bottom of the deck again. Whichever order you need, Couture can provide. He can also put your masks from deck to drop so you can use it, because it doesn't send them back as long as you don't use them, which means you can set up in a variety of ways. And then lastly, we of course have our PGs and the Elementaria Sanctitude. I decided to pick the other art because, well, I actually don't really have a reason. I picked it out of my binder and put it in here. You can use the other one if you prefer to do so. Starting us off, we have 2 copies of the mask. You don't need to see more than 2, because otherwise it's just a discard card, preferably on your rancor chain. Additionally, we are running 1 copy of the Fire Regalis because we could also discard this card as soon as possible, and whenever we need to find a piece, we can just activate it, remove it. It does not take up your order slot for the turn, neither does activating the mask's drop zone ability. I have had players at locals question me about this, like, oh, you already used an order, why are you using another one? If you use the main effect of the masks, that counts as your order. If you use it to ride, it does not activate your order of the turn. Same with the Fire Regalis, if you use its drop zone effect of removing it, that is not playing an order. This card distinctly says it cannot be played. It circumvents the order used, so keep that in. Now for our last few orders, we are of course running 2 Mythiarch Habitat. Just in case we are really bricking, this card can come in quite handy, because it can find you your Rosarium Fairies, it can find you your Ace unit. So just getting those units out on the board can get you out of a lot of sticky situations. The MVP of the deck is of course Silver White. So you can choose one of your rear guards and give it plus 5k for each of your grade 1 or less rear guards. So that 20k plan token will become a 45k plan token, and that's how you can get the 63k columns on your Rosarium Fairies, because of course with the Persona Ride and its base power itself. Then of course, if you see any triggers on your Lianorn, you will be adding that to that plan token, which once again powers up your Rosarium Fairies. Then lastly, we have 1 copy of the bouncing plan token order. It's basically, you can use it with triggers as well, but just if you are going first or second, but on your first grade 1 turn and you're attacking and you have 2 Rosarium Fairies and this order in hand, you call out whichever 1 card, you make sure you have as many plan tokens on the field as possible, and you start hitting your opponent. Possibly they'll be put to 3 damage unless they are going to destroy their hand that early on in the game, which is technically the best option, but this card can provide such insane value. There are chances that you're going first, you have 2 Rosarium Fairies in hand, you have a Couture in hand, you use this order, well, first you call Couture, you send out this order, Of course, you discard whichever piece that you don't need at the moment. You call out the Rosarium Fairies, retire the Coutier, use the second Rosarium Fairy, retire one of your plant tokens to have a full board, and then you activate this order. It's quite a good early rush, and yeah, it has helped me out quite a bit. We'll be going over the triggers real quick. Of course, we are running the Bless Favor in its new trial deck foiling. Bless Favor is, of course, an Omni OT to say. It activates every single OT, trigger effect, and it's quite insane, so why not use it? 3 copies of the draw trigger with an additional 5k shield. We desperately need to see our pieces, so any which way of gaining additional draw cards is very helpful, and the 5k shield does help from time to time. Next up, we have our criticals. We want to be aggressive as fast as possible, as early as possible. We want to hit face. We do not care about the rear guards. If there's an annoying rear guard, we have Lianorn Masques' ability to retire one. So you want your opponent on high damage as soon as possible, because you will know that if they're at 3 damage on your grade 3 turn, there's a high chance you're winning that turn, unless they have 4 PGs in hand or an insane amount of cards as well. So you want to hit and push for lethal as soon as possible. And last but not least, we have the heals. That's basically the list. I've noticed that this deck plays very well into Buff Sagra because they tend to farm up in the late game. Of course, their 30k shield is impressive, but if you can just rush them early, they won't have the pieces to come back to you. Of course, they want to go first, which also makes it easier for you. And even if they don't, like, the early rush is sometimes enough. And I felt like it was a safe pick into Buff Sagra for that reason. Sadly, now that Heart Luru is out, it is quite a bit more difficult to face into the meta, but it's still very good. I have been having a lot of fun with it. I know Lianorn Masques is coming out soon in the Japanese meta, and I'm not sure yet if I'll just replace the grade 3 and see what happens, but I'm just happy I could play the Masques deck once again. People that have been with the channel for quite some time now will know that the deck has been featured before, and I was very sad to see it go. And with this, at least for the past few months, I've at least been able to play it once more. Now, without further ado, I bid you guys a very good day, stay radiant, and we'll see you on the next one.